Hey everybody, I'm here with George Likewise, owner of Modern Skates. We're here to talk a little bit about Modern Skate and what you guys are all about. George, could you tell me a little bit about the history of Modern Skate? You've been around since 1979, is that right?
That's correct. I went to Venice Beach in 1979 from Michigan to visit some friends that moved out there. And we went down to Venice Beach, and I saw waves crashing in and girls in bikinis and Muscle Beach and skateboarders. And I thought to myself, I want to bring that lifestyle back to Michigan. So I opened in September of 1979 with $1,000, and I've been trying to make that $1,000 back ever since.
No, that's awesome. That's so fun. Let me ask you, George, so you've been around for so long. You've had multiple locations in the past. Would you say it was one of the biggest challenges that you had as an independent retailer, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, so my original goal was to open up 25 stores and have somebody come and write me a check. You know, I was pretty successful with the first store and then quickly into a second store. I got up to 5 locations, including 2 indoor skate parks, and was continuing to work on opening more locations throughout the Midwest. And then 9/11 came along, slowed things down a little bit, and then 2008 came along and almost took me out. So I ended up having to close 4 out of 5 stores and downsize over a period of 6 or 7 years. I stayed through all my leases, all my vendors got paid, but we ended up having to downsize, and I have one location now, which happens to be 80,000 square feet, and including a 60,000 square foot indoor skate park, third largest in America. And it's an iconic location just north of Detroit.
Could you tell me a little bit about, you guys just reached your 45th anniversary. Can you tell us a little bit about what the different connections you've made in this industry? You were telling me that at your 40th, Tony Hawk actually showed up to your skate park. Can you tell me about that story?
Yeah, I was lucky enough. I've got good friends in the industry, and Steve Van Doren from Vans came out and barbecued. Paul Schmidt, who's in the Skateboarding Hall of Fame for board design, came out and did what he calls Create a Skate, where he teaches people the science of skateboards, and you can make your own skateboard. I had Christian Osoy, Bucket Lassick, Bill Danforth, legendary skater out of Michigan. Andy McDonald was there, and Tony Hawk showed up unannounced and skated doubles with Andy on my vert ramp, which just warmed my heart. And everybody had such a good time. Ron Allen showed up, Tony Magnuson, just a lot of pros. Bill Toko, an old GNS skater from Michigan too, and a lot of the guys that I hadn't seen in like 20 years who are now in their 40s showed up. So it was a big reunion of everybody that kind of grew up at Modern over all the years. And we just did the 45th this year, and a lot of pros showed up for that too. And we had some skate demos, and everybody enjoyed it. We barbecued, had some bands playing and stuff, just to kind of celebrate being around a long time. I tell everybody, you know, being in business 45 years just means that I'm old, but hopefully I'm a little wiser now. And what's happened is, you know, in the industry, I used to go out to the trade show in ASR, is called, in California, and I'd buy a $200 ticket 6 months in advance, and then fly out and sleep on a former manager's couch and borrow his car and go to the show and stay on top of the trends of what happened in the industry. And I really believe in trade shows and the personal relationships that you build at trade shows to have the knowledge to continue to get the proper products in your store to be profitable. And so I continue to come to places like Surf Expo and Outdoor Retailer and hopefully other shows on the West Coast that are up and coming, and continue to meet with the principals of the businesses and become friends with them, and they realize the value that I might bring to them.
No, that's awesome, George. Appreciate you sharing that awesome story. Can you tell me a little bit about your thoughts around data and the importance of data as you're looking at how to manage your business and help your business thrive in this industry?
Yeah, well, you know, with social media now, you can have your younger people. I always say I'm not my buyer, the customer's the buyer. They tell me what they want, and then I get that for them. And I also have a lot of young guys working for me that are more my demographic as a retail store and a skate park, and they can inform me as to what they think is cool through social media now, because the trends seem to be quicker coming to the Midwest than they used to be. But the bottom line is that I've always said that that margins determine whether you stay in business or not. It's not how much you sell, it's how much you make on what you sell that allows you to stay in business. I always use the example of Herman's World of Sporting Goods. In 1993, they did $320 million in sales the year they went out of business because they couldn't pay their bills. And who wouldn't want to do $300 million in sales? But they had gotten their bills so far out of hand that they couldn't handle the payments on them, and their overhead was too much. So I believe that knowing your statistics, whether it be open to buy, which products are selling the most for you, what your dollar cash flow is very, very important to you, including things like, how much is your rent, what's the long-term goal for that particular store, whether you should rent or buy, that kind of thing. But inventory is the key to all of it right there. If you can control your inventory, you're going to be allowed to be successful no matter what level of sales you're at.
Awesome. No, thanks so much for sharing that with us, George. Now, so that is really awesome that you're able to kind of dive into kind of what's going on inside your store, look at the data, see what's trending. I think it's cool that you have people who work for you that fit the demographics, so they kind of know on the ground level what is trending from their own experiences and kind of what they're seeing on social media. How important do you feel like it is not just to look at your own data from your sales, but look at the industry data that might be available?
That's really important because, like I said, back in the day, I used to get out to California and I would drive up and down the coast and I would see what people are wearing and I would see how the stores were merchandised. And I had to do that manually, because there was no internet, and there was no YouTube and all that going on at that time. So you had to do everything on your own and take the initiative to go out and personally visit stores up and down the coast and go to the beaches and see what people are wearing and, go to the skate parks and such. And nowadays, with the technology increasing year by year and becoming better and better, you can track your statistics not only in your store, but if throughout the industry, if you can track the industry statistics, you can kind of tell exactly what's selling in general. Sometimes I have to say, being from the Midwest, that I've got a caveat that, okay, that might be selling in California because it's a different weather pattern than we have, or East Coast and it's different than us. But in general, a lot of the same things nowadays the trends come quicker with TikTok and Instagram. So following the statistics of the industry as a whole is very, very important to help you make a decision on what's hot and what's not. So knowing the statistics in your store is very, very important, and also industry-wide. And that's why I've partnered with Trackfly, who brings high technology into your point-of-sale system to help you track your sales, and also will allow you to look at industry figures, which will help me guide my open-to-buy within each category, whether it's shoes, clothing, hard goods. You can take a look at the industry trends. And like I said before, with TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, the trends go so much quicker throughout the country that you need to stay on top of them very, very quickly. And to have the tools that Trackfly provides, it just makes you smarter in your buying decisions.
Let me ask you this, George. So part of Trackfly is being able to collaborate with your brands and sharing that inventory feed with them about how their products are doing in your store. What are your thoughts about that tool of Trackfly and being able to share modern skates live sell-through of a particular brand with that brand partner? Why do you feel like that's important to share that with your brands?
Yeah, I've always said this industry is about relationships, and you develop a relationship with your vendors and your reps, the vendor reps, etc. You develop a relationship with them, and sometimes they come and go. And some of the vendors can't afford to pay a rep enough money to survive in a certain territory, so they got to give them like 11 states, and then they got to drive all over the place. So with the technology that Trackfly provides, we can communicate with our vendors more directly on what the trends are and what's selling the best for them. So I've always said, I'm not the buyer. The customer's the buyer. I just find out what they want and I get that for them. And if I tell the vendor, this is what my customer wants, and they make that, I'll buy more. And my key is to communicate with the vendor on what the proper thing is to get for my particular store in my region. And, I'll segue into the fact that I happen to be chairman of Board Retailers Association, which represents thousands of independent retailers throughout the United States, board sport retailers like skateboard, surfboard, stand-up paddle, wakeboard, snowboard. And we're partnering with Trackfly because collectively we all do better. If the industry does better, we do better. And I've always talked about how independent retailers is very, very important to the industry. We're the feeder system. We're the first stoke that the kid has when he comes in the door. We're the ones that have the employees that do the things that the customers do. And some of the major brands can't possibly pay their employees enough money to be as stoked about their product as we are. I told a vendor a long time ago, I said, you can't pay your employees enough money to care about your stuff as much as I do. And I pay that vendor money. They don't even pay me. I pay them to buy their product, to tell everybody how good it is. When we sell any different product, it's hard to hire employees or reps per se to cover the territory or make it to every store. But with the technology that Trackfly provides, we can communicate on a lot quicker and better basis and more accurate basis, where we can all communicate together and be more profitable from top to bottom. Again, I call it vertical retailing with different owners. Independent retailers communicating with reps and vendors through technology is the way of the future.
So you've actually sent a couple of invitations already from your Trackfly account with a couple of different brands. Mm-hmm. Could you tell me a couple of those that you're excited to connect with and collaborate and share that live sell-through data with them specifically?
Yeah, one of them in particular is Skull Candy. I've sold them since they came out in the beginning, and again, a lot of independent vendors that start out new. They come in skate shops and grow their business through skate shops, and then they expand and they go nationwide. And we have a saying in the independent retail arena that once it's in, it's out. As soon as everything goes to the mall, then our customers are looking for something new and different. So, and it could be a business strategy for many people. A lot of different industries do that. They build their brand, sell it out, and move on. But I think with Skull Candy, they went into some department stores and chain stores and such, and it became less of an impact on the independent retailer. And they don't have the same negotiating strength with some of the bigger box guys that they do with an independent on maintaining their own margins. So they've come to the conclusion of working with independent retailers more directly, and we've partnered with Skull Candy to do so through Board Retailers Association and Modern Skate in directly. And then I'd like to use the example of Adidas. They got rid of all skate shops selling their shoes and wanted to sell direct, and Nike was planning on doing kind of the same thing. And then they saw what happened to Adidas, and they changed their mind, and their new strategy is to continue to work with independents. And I think we're going to find a lot of the bigger vendors finding that independent retailers are important to their business. They can let us worry about rent. They can let us worry about insurance, hiring and firing, compensating employees, and those kinds of things. And if we all communicate together and we're in the same boat together, we can all be more profitable.